concentrate more, I guess, lyrically and musically. But how does it seem for you when you're looking out at a crowd that's just like floating, kind of?
Well, it's kind of same bit, but I think I, since I'm there kind of alone, then I'm with the crowd a little bit more, you know, and with the band, it's my duty to focus on the band, and then what happens there is what the.
I mean, you have more of an exchange with the crowd as opposed to like going and jamming with Mikey or playing with.
Yeah, I mean a little bit. I think it just happens that way. It's not intentional, but I notice I talk a little more and you know, stuff like that. But and mostly I just get nervous, which is hip, because I don't get nervous with the boys. But when I'm by myself, then it's that kind of fires me up too.
Yeah, I mean, that sort of shows that you're having another mission that's making you conscious of what you're doing, sort of, you know. I mean.
Well, you know, I just got the guitar and the voice and the inspiration, and then see what happens from there. You know, when all the rest of the boys are there, everything's real full. Yeah. So you know,
it's full and it's fat and it's tremendous.
Yeah, so it's a challenge to find that inspiration when you're just hanging there, and the fans always come into play. Yeah. But I end up needing them a whole lot when I'm playing solo.
And they need you too. I actually was at Planet Salmon last year in Lions, and it was interesting because you were in costume, in full-fledged costume and stuff, and it was such a special time for a lot of people, and people are being turned on to you. What do you think of Leftover Salmon? What did you think of that event and your solo gigs?
Oh man, well that pretty much got me fired up to play some solo gigs, and it's not always solo. It turns into hanging out and some folks sit in, and it's just a different world, which is nice. Take yourself out of what you're used to and jump into something different, and that there you get to find yourself all over again, but in a different situation. So it's more like you kind of remind yourself of who you are, what you're doing, and with those guys, all of a sudden I was in the costume, Jack.
Yeah, you were. In fact, even on Halloween, like you don't really wear a costume on Halloween, and you were totally dressed up.
Well, I always dress up and try to surprise the boys with. Once I came as a cop, boy, I flipped them out. And no, I mean Halloween, I dig. You know, costume. I'm always wearing a costume then.
You wear the ears. You're the.
Now, which Halloween are you talking about?
I'm not sure, but I've seen you in ears.
I've had a couple ears.
But I've never seen you in full cloth with the whole thing. But you know what's really incredible too, JB, is that like tonight you played, and then you played with Steve Kimmock. And I'm not sure if you've ever played with Kimmock before, but to me
I just met him tonight for the first time.
Yeah.
Real good fella, and his wife's real nice.
Yeah.
And man, but I'd never heard him play, and then that's some heavy tone. So it's like, man, find out all the stuff he's got. Let's get that. Yeah. And then I'll learn to play. And plug on through that.
Well, and also with Jerry, who's like, most people know him as a songwriter, and you play his tunes, and Jerry having his experience, and then Kimmock playing with Jerry Garcia and everything. It seemed like this weird, crazy bridge of music worlds sort of colliding, and it was really smoking. I thought that it was really a really good jam. Did you feel that?
Well, I do now. I mean, like from what you're saying, you know, Jerry. We've known each other for 12 years, and like I said, just met Steve tonight. I think really that all you can be sure of is that there's a lingering vibe that works with all the folks you mentioned. Yeah. You know,
that's true.
Living or dead, you know.
That's very true. And the thing also about what you do especially when you are playing with the Panic, is that you also educate people about other types of music, whether it's funk or different covers that you do. How do you choose a cover that you're gonna play, like the Hollies or something that comes to you, and you guys end up educating, especially younger audiences, because there are a lot of young kids on Panic that haven't seen other music necessarily.
You ever played the Hollies, Anne-Marie?
Yeah, I think you did last year on Halloween.
What? Okay then.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay. And then actually, I've even changed the words since then to chopped off woman at the knees at birth in a short red dress.
Oh, that was
And
the
I had-
Hollies that did that?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep.
JB.
I enjoyed doing that song.
How do you pick them?
It's basically if everybody in the band is cool with it. Now Halloween's a different gig because that's kind of time to put on costumes. So that's when we'll do covers that could be classics too.
Yeah.
Long tall woman in a cool dress or whatever that's
Black
called.
dress?
Black dress. There you go.
Or like Sympathy.
That's some of the Doors tunes, like all the Doors tunes are classics. We'll do that on Halloween. But in the other world, when we're just jamming and regular sets, we do try to do some things. Mostly it's just we'll see some songs that everybody will be fired up about. Everybody.
Like Sharon.
Yeah, that's been around for a while.
Yeah, it has.
And so that pops up every once in a while. But we all dig it, and that's pretty much the prerequisite. And if it wasn't a classic already, I mean, there's some things, if we just played classic, I mean, tunes that already were like everybody knew about, then we're already threatening to be a cover band as it is. So it's like,
Well, at Oak Mountain, actually.
it's better that when we do play other people's tunes, that there's some treasures that haven't been uncovered, at least to these folks that are, that are coming to listen now, and especially some of the younger folks. Yeah. And basically, it fires us up, and so we'll get some inspiration, maybe get some new ideas, and move on from there, and keep writing with that inspiration.
Well, it's so beautiful too, because right now you've been through a lot with the Panic, and your band has moved mountains in terms of getting a community and having a lot of different things happen within your scene, and now you have your own record label, and it's a lot of people's dream to eventually have their own label. What is that like?
Well, I could tell you true. We became our own record label because we were in between record labels.
After Capricorn, you were looking maybe to sign with a major label?
Well, yeah, I mean, we were just going through the process and negotiations and all that lawyer stuff. That takes a long time. So if we just went idle without putting a record out, we would feel like we were cheating ourselves, cheating the process. The fans, there was stuff to be had. Mm-hmm. And so we became our own record label as just legal paperwork. And while we were talking to other record companies. And we had this beautiful opportunity because we were Dirty Dozen Brass Band. Yeah. And played the summer with them, and we had enough stuff for a pretty cool CD, and then boom, so you had that, and in the meantime, we met Sanctuary Records, and they're A number one. They're really good folks. Sweet. Up and down the line. And
so are you going to sign other artists, younger artists, to your label, do you think?
No, it was legal paperwork. We became our own record label just because that's what you do. And it's like,
you have material that's smoking and you're ready to put it out.
If you're going to put out a record, it's good to isolate it and form a record company around that. So all your other businesses like the band and stuff aren't liable for any crap that might happen with our record company. That's the truth of it.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Nice. So I heard a story from a mutual friend of ours, Bear, who said that years ago in Athens, he was at one of your first solo gigs ever, and that you all were hanging out, and that oh yeah. So you guys were hanging out in this like dive bar in Athens, and that you guys were, whatever, catching a buzz, and the town drunk was there, and you and Bear, and the bartender or the bar manager came in and wanted you to play, and it was one of your first ever solo gigs, and he looked at Bear first, and then he looked at you or whatever, and then you got up on stage and you opened with Night Moves by Bob Seger. Do you remember that?
Well, I used to play that tune a lot. Yeah.
Because I was yelling it at Salmon Fest last year, and I thought you maybe looked at me.
I don't think it's going to happen again. Bear and I, we went through a bunch of times together. Yeah. I don't remember that particular moment. But I do remember, well, I used to play it a lot. I mean, it was part of it. It was just a song I played, I played a lot of songs back then.
Where is he anyway?
He was supposed to be here tonight.
I know, he's in so much trouble. He called me and asked me where you were. Anyway.
No, but he called and said he was coming tonight. So he might have been here, but I'd have seen him if he was.
Yeah, we would have noticed him. So.
But no, Bear, I was doing this gig, and there were a lot of gigs like this where it was just me and the bartender. And because I'd find new clubs, and I go, hey, I'll play here, give me $15 or something like that. And
were you just like testing checking out how you would play, or?
I was being a businessman. I was out there scoring gigs as far as I knew. I was an agent. And but Bear would come out and hang, and sometimes he'd be the only guy. A lot of times in the beginning, he'd be the only guy. And so there we were, we just I'd play as pretty much as long as I could, and after a while it'd get to be where you'd play as long as you could so people wouldn't leave. If you had a few people in
the Bear never left you.
No, man, he's always there. Yeah. No, he great inspiration, still is.
And it seems like, especially in festival situations, there's a lot of musicianship and jamming amongst different styles of music. And you guys actually first had DJ Logic playing with you in Boston, and what do you think about the music? Yeah, wasn't I? Yeah, Harbor Lights. So what do you think about all these different bands?
Too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about the whole, jam bands coming into the forefront sort of more now, maybe than they were a couple of years ago, and people playing together and creating, this whole different insight into music?
Man, I think I assume it's always been the same thing. I mean, I've only been around for so many years, but if you meet some people and you've heard their music and you hear their set before you play, if that's the first time you meet them, and you're inspired, and they don't have a gig to go to late night or they're split to another city, and you have and you say, hey, you want to sit in? And they do want to sit in, and that's when things happen. It's pretty organic and respectful of what people like to do. Some folks don't like to sit in right off the bat. I mean, great musicians.
Like Les Claypool, or someone that's more maybe reserved. I actually saw Les Claypool at the Warfield, checking you guys out, and like.
Well, I don't know. I didn't meet Les Claypool, but no. Most of the time, folks are get together, see what happens. You know, for us, we're pretty easy. Just jump on in and do what you want. You don't have to worry about getting in anybody's way. And we're not going to stop either, so just jump in and hang on. It's like,
hang on. Well, it's so nice too, because one of the things that I see that's so beautiful is what Warren Haynes does all the time. And he plays with so many different bands, and he's doing a new album with 13 or 15, I can't remember, bass players.
oh yeah.
And it's just like smoking Holio.
Yeah. And Dave's doing that bit.
Yeah, and it's like there's the same kind of vibe, I think, with the Panic as there is with Warren Haynes, who's inviting people to come along and play, and also learning their music. And you guys do the same thing.
I think if taking Warren as an example, you've got the #1. You got all the combination of everything. Great musician, great vocalist. Really nice guy, really together on his game. And is willing to embrace all kinds of folks and all kinds of music. In Warren, what you're talking about, he embodies.
Yes.
And that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, we try, but he really is it.
Yeah, but so are you. That's why it's so incredible when you play together.
I don't know. I don't.
Do you think that you're going to record a project, like a JB solo project or JB and Friends, like Warren's doing?
Oh, I don't have any visions like that. Do a couple of these things, just doing a solo thing, just seeing what happens, and then and kind of
It's a good test, because Rolling Summer has been serious, a lot of stuff.
Well, and it reminds me of like when I very first started, like when we were talking about with Bear. Right. And it's good to remember what
Yeah.
some yeah. But no, that's I don't have any visions like that. If it pops up, I enjoy the recording process, so that's there are no limitations there. But I don't have any bigger ideas than just doing what I'm doing.
So if you enjoy the recording process, what made Don't Tell the Band, your current album, different than other projects that you've worked on? Because a lot of people and a lot of critics think that it's edgier or it's different or it's differently produced than your stuff. What do you think about Don't Tell the Band as a project?
Well, I think it is edgier, but that nature of the songs and the guitar tones, pretty much. And beyond that, it's us. It's the boys just doing. I mean, that just happens to be what we're doing right now. Yeah. And when we play live, you'll hear it all mixed in together, and there's an ebb and flow going on. Yeah. So
it's really a great album.
There's ugly.
Yeah. There's dirty. Dirty bang.
Evil.
Yeah, it's the same kind of flow as a live show. It goes in and out and stuff. What is the story behind Don't Tell the Band, the song itself? Because a lot of people are wondering where that came from, and there's a rumor, I think, that it's from a Christmas album or something.
No, let me see. Let me see if I can do this quick. It's kind of a little running joke. I mean, so many decisions are made on our behalf with people we trust. And a lot of times it's like, hey, we didn't know about that. And they say, oh, well, but that's the policy of management. Don't tell the band, and we'll just roll through it. And some things we should have known about, but it's like, oh no, you forgot. That was a don't tell the band kind of thing. But it's everybody that's working on our behalf is they really know what's up, and they're taking care of business, so we can take care of just playing music. And then the song was just born out of Mikey came up with he just started working off that theme, Don't Tell the Band, and killer images. I thought it was great. Yeah. And and I think the underlying theme in that song is hearsay because I didn't write it lyrically.
We'll have to go to Mikey.
Yeah, but I can give you a second hand.
Yeah.
That a lot of stuff goes on, and that the band can be oblivious to, or people can be oblivious to. And if you just go ahead and live your life, or as in this song, just let the music play,
Right.
Well, things are just, they hadn't changed. That's that might be oversimplified, but for a song, that's a pretty neat premise. Yeah.
It's beautiful because it also means that even though it's the business of music, that you're conscious of it and you're playing through it, And
Well,
the business of music.
Conscious of what goes down, but we do
Sometimes it's just
maintain.
Yeah.
We try to protect the creative environment, or else we'd just be really mean. If it was all compromised and we weren't writing songs, that we'd get pretty darn ornery.
So where do you write, JB? When you hang out and you're like inspired, do you write at home? Do you write on the road? Do you, everywhere? Is it just like come to you and then?
Everywhere, anywhere, yeah, wherever it comes. And usually just something sparks you, and you just try to follow that lead. Good thing to write things down if you write at the moment, or else
Do you write down dreams? Are you inspired by your dreams?
Well, I go in cycles. I work with the dreams a lot. I mean, gee whiz, lately dreams are just nuts, and I just like close my eyes and it's like going to the movies and I've seen a triple feature.
Wow.
And I haven't been writing them down. I've just been going, wow.
Whoa, what was that one?
And but that's another part of the process, because I have been doing historically I've done stuff where I really worked with coming awake in my dreams and working along those lines, and
Lucid dreaming, or
lucid dreaming, exactly.
That's what Dream Song is about.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there, but there are times where you don't really have enough. This is the way I describe it. You don't have enough personal energy to wake up into an active role. You might be a more semi-active, kind of distorted, kind of observational role, and you can write those things down too. And there might be other stuff. But along those lines, a lot of times, I don't have the personal energy to want to write that stuff down either. I want to wake up and just live the next day, and see what's going on. And so I do it all. I check it out.
Nice. And it's so funny because you've been playing Don't Be Denied a lot lately, and that's also about a different kind of, like, instead of living in your dreams or being inspired by dreams, it's about going for your dreams and living your life like you just talked about. And I think that you're an inspiration to so many people right now. And I think that you guys carry the message of grabbing it and reaching for it, living your life in the present. Isn't that part of what you want to portray?
Well, I don't know if we're trying to portray anything. I mean, we are trying to be who we're going to be. Right. Not to contradict you.
It's real. It's very real, is what I'm saying.
I'll tell you how real it is. Right. Neil Young wrote that song, and the parallels in each of the verses. Hell, I wore white bucks to school.
Yeah?
I mean, I didn't live. None of us lived in Canada. Yeah. That's about the only thing that didn't jive. Yeah, that's the only thing. All the other verses in that song were like, oh. Oh man, we did that. And Mike and I actually you sit on the steps at school, you know, dream of being stars. We didn't really dream of being stars or scheming up, but we'd played for a while and then stopped playing together, went off with other bands, and then saw each other one day, and it was on the steps of the one of the science buildings in Georgia. Yeah, and you know, and those things come up, and so you know, it's a gas to see a song that parallels something you've experienced. I mean, and Neil's one of the great ones.
Yeah.
You know,
And
he sings songs that he reaches some universalities.
yeah.
And
Synchronicity and all of it.
And I think that's one of the heavy parts about discovering songs. You're not just writing them.
Right.
The songs are kind of already there.
Didn't you and Mikey play Let's Get the Show on the Road together? One of the first songs you played?
Yeah. Again, we didn't write that.
Yeah, but wasn't it one of the first things that you jammed?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. One of the first times we met each other. But I couldn't remember the whole song.
Who wrote?
Oh, Michael Stanley from Cleveland, Ohio. He interviews too.
He does.
Yeah.
What's the other guy? What's the other guy's name? The lawyer that's friends with Bear and everybody from Cleveland. Mitch.
Oh, Mitch.
Mitch. Yeah, yeah. The president. I love him.
Oh, he's a good fella.
He is.
Yeah, you looked right at Mikey when you said, met a friend play guitar last weekend. That was perfect.
Yeah, you know, sometimes I'll do it. It's not always, you know, I don't want to do it as affectation. You know, a lot of times it's like, you're remembering, you know. That's why we don't play it so often. It is it's a cover song, but it also means a lot to us. So, you know, you pull it out when it.
Trey doesn't want people to come on tour with Trey. He wants to come in and like play with his band, and then have people sort of go home, right? He doesn't want to be responsible for this big tour, and you are responsible in a way for people that follow you.
Responsible.
But really, Jimmy, I mean, it must be bizarre sometimes to realize that all these people are following you all the way around the world, and you're coming out and, you know, doing a check on a.
No, I think it's simpler than that. I think it really is. We do what we do. We always have. It's reached larger proportions as far as ticket sales, record sales, and touring schedule. But we're here on our own. Folks are here on their own. It's a lot more innocent than just saying that we are doing this. We're not doing it for something. It's all just happening. Yeah. And the fans, the folks that buy tickets and come out, I mean, you know, you can see them. It ain't just about us. It's about just stuff. Yeah. And people are having
stuff, and
they've been having
boogie
a
and
good time
family
way before the band ever starts playing. And we just happen to be something you can do right there.
Oh, but whatever. Okay.
Bullshit.
No, because what we got going is like because there's a space and there's porta potties, and people can gather in large groups and come and see this. And this is what we're doing. But there's something they're focusing on, and there's some familiarity with the songs, repetitiveness and hopefully non-repetitiveness of seeing how the songs develop and the band develops. But that's more a reflection of what they're going through.
Humble freaking whatever. Listen, everybody, No, Debbie, it's not true. People are there to, like, from the second that you guys start playing and whatever's going on, they're there, and it's family, and it's a different kind of boogie, and it's not like any other band. It's not. The last time I saw String Cheese, I was trying to get off the damn landing pad, and I don't want to say that really because I appreciate what they do necessarily, but you are very different, and you do have a community that loves you so much, and they're not just there in between the space with the porta potty and everything else. It's special.
Well, but the environment, back to that, having the creative environment.
Right.
And that goes along the same lines with the with the folks that come out to see us.
Yeah.
They're
creative also.
Luckily, and with all the legal crap and stuff that goes on, there still is a space where we can all get together and have a little thing, a little to do. And we happen to be the band. And that, I mean, that's hip. We feel privileged. And boy, I'll tell you what, if you want a different answer, you'd have to ask somebody else.
Yeah.
Because that's how I feel. Because I think I see other people's, you have parents, you have people that are taping. We got us in the band, we got the crew, we've got security, you've got everybody doing stuff. We play a certain role, and this whole thing is working. So, and that I swear, that's how I feel. And it does work. If everybody's cool about it, then it does work.
It totally does.
And I enjoy my part in it, getting to explore music. And I'm really grateful to the boys because, we get to improvise and, we let each other wank out as much as possible.
Right.
And I think in the audience, folks are really kind to each other.
Yeah, and they let each other wank out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
General admission doesn't mean, free for all. It means, let's go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but that, I'm holding firm. That's how I feel.